This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. It is I, Old Gingerface, with you as always, everybody. Thank you for being here. This week, I have a special episode. It's a compilation episode. So I've been doing this for about 6 years, and sometimes in the schedule, we have cancellations or we have gaps, things like that. And, it leaves old Gingerface high and dry for an interview. So I thought it would be cool to go back and find some stories that you guys have commented on as being extraordinary stories, insane stories. So I went way back. We've been doing the show about 6 years now. So I went way back and found some really, really good stories that I love. I mean, some of them are, to this day, I'm going back almost 6 years now with some of these, and they are still some of the most shocking and bizarre stories I've heard. We have Brad Nischwitz he's a deputy from Ohio. We have Robert Rangel from Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, Gil Reyes from the California Highway Patrol, and Dave Escoto from LAPD, Homicide and Vice. They each have their own story on here. They're all equally entertaining. I just love these stories. They're so good, and I kind of put them together in a compilation for you guys to enjoy. I did go back and I tried to touch up the audio so that it's better than it was before, because in the beginning I was not so great at audio engineering. So as you listen, it should be much better. The level should be much better, and I think it'll be a much better listening experience for you. I'm excited to put this out. I hope you really enjoy it. I hope if you really, really love the show and you want to show that to old Stevie Boy monetarily, you can do that through the link in the show notes to the Patreon. If you have listened to all the episodes, all 200 plus episodes of the free content, and you want to support the show, you can do that there. And, I'm always looking for guests. So if you are a law enforcement officer, or you know somebody who is, and you think you or they would be a good guest, I'd love to hear from you. Just go to thingspolicey.com, scroll down to be a guest, and send me a message. Let me know. The criteria to get in is very low. Just years on the job and good stories. That's all I'm looking for, guys. And I'm looking for, I know some people get intimidated by past celebrity cops I've had on. Believe me, if you've been on the job 5 years, it almost doesn't matter where you work. You are going to have some great stories. So without further ado, let me start with the first question I asked the great Brad Nischwitz.
All right, brother. Can you tell us about your most intense or terrifying call that you went to?
Sure. And I hope you don't have a weak stomach, because this may be a little rough.
I do, but lay it on me.
So, as a lot of guys are, when you're working the midnight shift, you hate to get a late call, like a late crash or something like that, because everybody wants to go home on time.
Oh, yep.
So it's around 6 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning, and dispatch calls me, and I go, oh no. And then they go, just a medic call at one of our local hotels. And it's just a nice hotel, not too bad. It's got a bar in it. Colleges have parties there, and this. So it's not terrible. And they say that there's a guy having a seizure in the hotel. I said, okay, no problem. So I get to the hotel. They said, go up to the second floor, and manager's up there with the guy. So I start walking down the hall. I see the manager standing in the hallway, and this guy is laying on the floor, half in the room and half in the hallway. He's not wearing a shirt, and he has no pants on. He has bed sheets like around his midsection, and he has dry blood all over the place. And the first thing I think is, I'm not going home on time. This is not a seizure.
Exactly.
Somebody beat this guy up. Something happened last night. So I walk up, and the guy's laying there. He's awake and talking, no problem. And medics are already on the way. And he's at, like I said, dry blood on his legs and his hands and his chest and his neck. And I asked the guy on the ground, I said, hey, what's going on this morning? And he looks up at me and he goes, I cut my dick off.
Whoa.
And this guy's like in his mid-20s. He's like 25-ish. And I said, what? And he said, I cut my dick off. I go, okay. I said, have you cut yourself anywhere else? Because there's blood all over the place. And he said, well, I stuck myself on both sides of my neck and both of my groins. I said, okay. Are you trying to kill yourself? And he goes, no. I said, okay. I said, well, the medics are coming. But I said, so you cut your dick off? He said, yeah. I said, well, where is it? He goes, it's in the room. And I go, okay. So it's really strange because I said, the guy's laying right, like his midsection is right at the doorway. And he's laying on his back, and right by his right hand is a framing hammer. And I go, is he trying to get me to step over him? He's going to hit me with his hammer. Yeah. And so I kind of leaned in with my foot and kicked the hammer out of his hand's reach. I step into the room over him. The room's dark. I start looking around, and in front of the TV is a decent puddle of congealed blood. I'm looking around the bed and stuff. There's blood there also. And I come back to him and I said, I can't find it. I said, where is it? He said, it's in the bathroom behind the toilet. I said, okay. So I go in the bathroom, and it looked like somebody slaughtered a cow in the bathroom. There was blood all over the place.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I go in there, and I look behind the toilet, and there is his penis and testicles together in a package, still connected together, laying there on the floor. And I couldn't believe it.
Goodness.
I could not believe it. So I come back, and then on top of the counter in the bathroom is a Leatherman tool. And if you're familiar with the Leatherman tool, they have, it unfolds obviously. And on one side of on one of the folding parts of the Leatherman, he has the straight blade out. And on the other side of the Leatherman, he has the saw tool out. So it looks like big monster, scary snippers with a blade on one side and a saw blade on the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I go back to him, and he's laying there. Medics are not there yet. And I said, what are you on? I said, the medics have to know you're not going to be in trouble. I need to know what drugs you're on or what you drank, because they got to know to help you. He said nothing. And he is talking just like we're talking. He has no pain at all. And I started badgering him. I said, what are you taking? What are you taking? I have to know.
Yeah.
It's for your own good. And I was getting agitated. And finally he said, okay. He said, I had a Mountain Dew last night at Taco Bell. I said, that's it. That's all you've had since last night. He said, yes, sir. And he was, yes, sir, no, sir. He's this kid was a clean-cut kid. And he, just for a side note, he was in town doing construction, and he lived down in Arkansas or Alabama, okay? So, while we're waiting for the medics still, and this is all happening really fast. It's not like our medics take that long. They're really good. He goes, can you get my good luck charm and my girlfriend's picture from under the bed? I said, okay. So I go to the bed, I pick it up, put up the corner, and sure enough, there's a lucky coin, allegedly lucky. I don't know if I'd call it lucky.
Yeah.
And a picture of his girlfriend. I bring it back to him. I give it to him. And he says, would you write a phone number down for me? I said, okay. So I write a phone number down, and he gives me a name. And I said, who is this? He said, it's my mom and dad. He said, can you call them and tell them I love them? I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And we've been very cordial. This has been a very good interaction for the situation. And he said, well, why not? And I said, I'm sorry, but this did not work. And you're going to tell them you love them yourself. Because in my opinion and things that I have seen, if you do someone's last will and testament, they can let themselves die. But if they have unfinished business, they will hang on because there's unfinished business to be done if their body will let them hang on.
Right.
So he told me that. I said, I'm sorry, this did not work. You're going to see him. He said, and he didn't like that, but he was okay with it. So right around that time, the medics show up, and they kind of, they just rolled out of bed. They're looking in the room. They said, what do you got, Brad? I said, he cut his dick off. And they just freaked out. Not bad freak out, but they're expecting a seizure. And then it was funny where it sort of hit me then as a crazy medical emergency now. Because I was sort of saw it as a very strange situation. But these guys look at it obviously from a different standpoint. And they were saying, okay, we're going to get double IVs going right now, right where he's laying. So they started working on him right away. And they're scrambling. And another deputy happened to show up just in case I needed. They didn't know what, they just think I'm on a seizure still. This other deputy shows up to see if I need anything. And he sees what's going on. And he was out in the hallway when the medics picked up the sheet. And I didn't want to see. I'd already seen enough. But the medics had to see what was going on. And this deputy saw the void that this guy had. And it showed me why he was on his back pushing himself out in the hall, because once you remove your package, your insides will fall out.
Oh my goodness.
And so his insides were falling out from the wound that he had created. So I'm still in the room, and one of the firefighters is out in the hall, and this wasn't very nice. It wasn't very professional, but it is what it is. He reaches over the individual on the ground, and he has in his hand a couple 4x4s of gauze and rubber gloves. It says, hey, Brad, put that thing on ice. And I reached over, and he thought I was going to grab it, but I grabbed him by the forearm, and I yanked him over the guy laying in the doorway into the room with me. And I said, no. I said, you guys are going to be dealing with that. I don't get paid to deal with that.
Yeah.
I said, you're going to pick that thing up and put it on ice. And so we went, and the manager got us an ice bucket to put it on. And obviously I have trouble using hotel ice buckets anymore after putting that thing on ice in the ice bucket. So he got double IVs going, and I was still talking to him while the medics were working on him, trying to keep him sidetracked, and we were still talking normal. I'm sure his anxiety was going up with all the scrambling they were doing. And as I'm talking to him, all of a sudden, his eyes just slam back in his head, and his eyes shut. And I start yelling at him. I just start yelling his name. And he opened his eyes. He said, what? I said, I'm sorry. I said, but you got to stay awake. I said, I know you're cold. I know you're tired, but you have to stay awake. I don't want you closing your eyes. He said, okay. I said, you got to stay with me. So he woke up enough after I yelled at him. The medic said, we got to get to the hospital right now. And the hospital is probably about 5 to 8 minutes away. And now you're talking rush hour traffic also. And there's no highway involved. Just main thoroughfares. So I said, okay. I said, and as I'm sure you know, once you stop a medic, it's hard to get it rolling then from a stoplight.
Yeah.
So I said, I want to clear as many intersections as I can for you guys. You can just keep on motoring. They said, that would be great because we got to be there 5 minutes ago. We take off, and I block these intersections. The medics go flying by me, and we're just leapfrogging all the way to the hospital. And we did an 8-minute drive in about 4 minutes in traffic.
Wow.
We were flying, and we get there, and it was so surreal because I go into the ER, the victim is still in the medic, and these 3 doctors are looking at this ice bucket going, what in the world are we going to do? And then they bring the guy in, and I didn't realize it in the hotel, but he had, I guess you'd call it extreme first degree burns from his chest down, his chest, his arms, and his legs.
Like
And
old burns?
No.
Okay.
Brand new, because he did this removal in a scalding shower. As hot as that water could come out of that faucet in the hotel, he had it cranked on in the shower. And so you could see him in the ER, he was all beet red and blistered and stuff.
Wow.
And so I went to, obviously I had trouble sleeping that night or that morning. And then the next night I went to the hospital to check on him. And ER said, we shipped him out to Ohio State to try to get it put back on today. He's just not here anymore. I said, okay, well, hope and pray for the best for him. And it was really interesting where I was trying to figure out for a month how this could happen. Because I could understand the way my brain was thinking. If you guys had a crazy mental thought or something, you get a meat cleaver and you cut it off, you would do it and you go, ouch, that hurts. That was a mistake.
Yeah, you'd think.
But the way he did it, it took time, a lot of time to do it yourself in one package. And the pain, I could not even figure out what it could have been. And so I was trying to guess why he would have done it and dealt with all the pain. And the only thing I'd come up with was, because he had a girlfriend, we have a lot of prostitutes where I work. I said, maybe he hooked up with a prostitute and felt really, really bad and cut it off. My other option was he was a pedophile and couldn't help himself. That was my guess. So I go back to the hospital maybe 3 weeks later, and they knew of the case, obviously. So I talked to the ER doc, and he said that Ohio State was able to put his penis back on, but the testicles didn't make it. I go, okay, well, I guess that's halfway okay. But then if you think about it, now you're talking about getting shots for the rest of your life for the testosterone.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. So then I said, well, what happened? And he goes, I don't know yet. He said, I'll let you know. So a short time later, I went back, and I'd been thinking about this a lot. I just couldn't believe how you could do that and not have any pain and just talk normal. And they said the bottom line was it was his first attack of being bipolar.
Wow.
And that's what he did.
I was going to say,
if
there's no drugs in his system or anything else, the other thing I would think about is like demonic possession, you know?
Right, exactly. That was insane. I couldn't believe it.
That is crazy. So did they test the blood and there was no signs of drugs, or did you find out?
No. He was stone cold sober.
So this was his first psychotic episode linked to bipolar.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, and I know nothing about that disease, but he had a roommate. These two guys are doing construction. He had a roommate, and I had to get a hold of the management to try to flag this roommate down, because the roommate had asked this guy if you wanted to go to the Waffle House. If you're hungry, he goes, no, I'm just going to sleep in a little longer. So his roommate goes to the Waffle House. This guy gets up and goes in the bathroom and cuts his step off.
Yeah, Waffle House. Now I'm gonna hang back and cut off my wiener. Okay.
I know. I'm good. Yeah. But Joy, be careful when you come back. You don't slip on the floor in the bathroom.
Wow.
Or fall over my paint.
Did you ever think, Brad, that you would go on a call like this when you became a police officer?
Never.
I mean, that's insane.
Never. And then the funny thing is, as you could have asked me maybe, and this was near the end of my career. And as you know, you see odd things at the beginning of your career. Even at the beginning of my career, maybe I'm 3 years in of seeing odd stuff. I could have never even come up with this. You know?
Yeah.
Like as they often say, you can't make this stuff up, right?
Oh my goodness.
Craziness.
That is insane. Yeah, they always say, they always say, I don't know, what's the expression, Brad? The truth is stranger than fiction. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
That's an absolute guarantee in police work. Holy cow. Robert, can you tell us about the most bizarre or strange call that you went on? That was just kind of like blew your mind.
Well, once you get through the blood and guts of Lenox and you get up to West Hollywood, my partner kind of said it best. He said, West Hollywood is like you parachute in, you gather your parachute, you put it away, you take a step, you look around, and you realize, I don't want to be here. And then you take a step, you take your foot that you made the step with, and you put it right back exactly where it was before. But you can never go back because you've already seen what you shouldn't have seen. So, yeah, West Hollywood is just, you talk about, they had some weird stuff going on. I mean, one night there was a guy, he's kind of drunk, walking out of an alley, and we jam him, and, he kind of smells like crap, like dog shit. Yep. He goes, oh yeah, I stepped in some dog shit. I was coming through a yard. I'm like, really? And my partner goes over and shines his light through the alley, and there's a guy laying in the alley. And he goes, hey, bring that guy over here. So we bring the guy over there, and the guy's pants, he's passed out drunk, and he's laying in the alley face down. His pants and underwear are down around his ankles, and his butthole is all like loose. And then we looked at the guy and looked at his hand, and his arm, his whole arm up to his elbow was full of crap. So he had been putting his fist in the guy's butt in the alley while he was passed out. Oh my gosh. You don't want to pass out in West Hollywood. That's for sure.
That is,
you never know how you're going to wake up.
That is one of the most disturbing things I've heard in my life, Robert.
I mean, like, it's just a crazy, yeah. You run into stuff. They call it West Hollywood weird because, you are going to get exposed to, stuff that you're probably not going to see anywhere else.
Wow, that is crazy. I'm sure you probably have a plethora of stories similar to that.
Look, man, I'm going to say it this way. There's a lot of stories out there, and they're so, I don't know what the word that you would want to use is, horrific, out of bounds, so taboo that you can't believe it and you laugh about it. But the reality is it's, that is someone else's, pain or displeasure, or someone else being a victim that you're actually laughing at. But I think it's the only way that you can deal with some of the stuff that you see. It's just too far out there.
Yeah, that's fun. A lot of people that I've interviewed say that about just how cops cope, with those situations. Because, like you said, that is an insane situation to deal with. That's part of the reason that I'm doing the podcast is so. And I'm glad you told that story because it is brutal and graphic and shocking. But it's good for people to hear those are the things cops see and have to deal with. I mean, if you could imagine it, a cop has had to deal with it. Like it's that insane. And no one in police academy trains you for that scenario you just described.
No, it's Technicolor. It's not just it's not just the, a black and white thing. It's a real living, evolving thing. And you're smelling the shit, and then you realize the guy's got it all over his arm. And then you're getting grossed out, and then you're trying to deal with the situation, maintain your composure. The poor guy in the alley, he's passed out. You don't know if he was a willing participant and then passed out, or if they know each other. I mean, you're trying to figure this out, but meanwhile, you're dealing with the grossness of the whole thing. And you're like, I can't believe that I'm actually here dealing with this, it's crazy.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane. I think I think you're the winner for most bizarre so far.
Oh, yeah, there's a few of them like that I know of.
Gil, can you tell us about the strangest or most bizarre thing that you dealt with?
Yes, this one really is a mind blower, because not only was it bizarre, it kind of startled me in a way, and you'll get it as I explained to you. I was working again a graveyard unit with a partner of mine, and it was probably about 2:00 in the morning, and the call was on the freeway. It was a call about a rollover, a solo rollover vehicle was found to be, when we went on scene, came to rest in the center divider. And again, this is a 4-lane highway, shall I say freeway. It's a southbound side of the freeway through Del Mar in the North County of San Diego. And me and my partner arrive on scene, and we see the vehicle. You could tell it had rolled over. No other vehicles involved, like just a basic rollover. And it was my idea or my suspicion that somebody probably got ejected, because we were the first on scene, and none of the ambulance or any of the emergency personnel had arrived on scene. So at the time, we got the first responsibility is to stabilize the scene. So we laid out a flare pattern to ensure that we had oncoming traffic guided away from the scene, and give us a little working area in that fast lane. Once we did that, as we were doing that, the fire department had arrived on scene and noticed that there was a solo individual in the vehicle, and the individual was literally head first into the floorboard, and you could see his feet, and if you could picture a body as if he was asleep, head first with his back towards you on the floorboard on the passenger side of a vehicle. And this vehicle, again, it happened to be a what do you call those? A roof? God darn it, I lost convertible, Blackheart, convertible. But it was a convertible. So as we walked up, we saw the guy in there, and it looked. He looked like, he was gone, and he had that look of a death already. He had his skin color was gone, and you could see the fire personnel noticed that he was already just gone.
Mm-hmm.
While they worked on him, they pulled him out. I didn't know this, and said they pulled him up to work on him. Me and my partner began to walk past the vehicle, and as we were walking past the vehicle, we were just looking for evidence, make sure nobody else got ejected. So as we were walking, we're in the center divider, and as I'm walking, put my flashlight, and the beam sees this object, and at the same time the object appears, I'm probably about 10 to 15 feet away from it, and my flashlight hits this object, and it is the individual's head. And his head was like if they cut it off, took it off his body, and just set it head up, looking straight at me with the eyes open. And it reached me, and it was whoa. And that was a pretty bizarre surprise, because when I seen it, I yelled for my partner, and it says, "Pat, take a look at this." And he looks, and it was like, whoa, because he was just a little bit behind me, because you're looking in the bushes, you don't know what you're going to find, just in the process of just clearing the scene and making sure everybody's nobody else is out there, and evidence, beer, whatever it is that you're looking for. But I put my flashlight in front of me, and the beam hit that decapitated head, and it happened to be the fella's head that was head first into the floorboard of that solo rollover. And come to find out, at the time, freeways were actually divided by not hard concrete barriers. They were actually cable barriers. and they were just cables, little cables that were strung down the center divider. And it just so happened that during the rollover, it looked like he was just in the right place at the right time when the vehicle rolled over. It literally sliced his head in half, and the force of the collision caused his head to roll a lot more ahead of the vehicle after it came to rest. And I thought that was very strange, bizarre, and different. And,
Oh my gosh, that is.
People are able to have a firsthand story about. So that was probably one of my most bizarre events during the course of my time on the job.
Yeah, that's awful and bizarre for sure. So when you walked by the car, you just figured the guy that was head down in the floorboard. You figured, oh, he's probably dead, but you figure he had his head still.
Yeah, oh yeah, because the way it was positioned, his head first into the floorboard, and he was under the dash. So it was just a natural assumption that he was just head first and, dead. And his skin color and skin tone was that of somebody that was killed in the accident. And at the same time that I took a look at that body, the fire department was starting to work on him. But as I walked and they were working on him, I'm sure they knew what was going on, didn't know where his head was. But they didn't tell me, and I'm sure they were waiting for me to find it, and I got.
Wow, that is that's nuts, man.
Yeah,
wow.
It was
Jesus.
Funny because you look at some of these horror shows and you see these heads that are placed on a table on how these things go, and
sure.
I saw it for real, but instead of on a table, it was come to rest in the middle of a dirt center divider on a freeway.
And did that mess with you at all? I mean, the times I saw kind of disturbing deformations of people's bodies, the next day when I woke up, it was always the first thing I thought of. And it always took me a couple days to kind of get it out of my system. It kind of screwed with me for a couple of days. Did it bother you at all, or were you just?
You know what, Steve, I don't know if it bothered you, but I would say that maybe it did, because us as cops, as law enforcement officers, sometimes we won't say it bothers us, but I think that's why after shift we go out and we go out and have a drink and build that camaraderie with our friends, because instead of talking about it, we know about it, don't have to say anything, but we just comfort each other and have a good time and laugh and kind of like drink it away. And it's a cynical way of looking at it, but I think it's a real way of looking at it. So did it bother me? I wouldn't admit it, but I'm sure it did. And it caused, I don't know, it pointed you in the right direction or the wrong direction of just letting that steam out, or those bothersome moments melt away with your friends and having a good time and not really speaking about it, but just partying it away, I guess you would.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, you do it's a real comfort you feel when you're with another cop who's either experienced the situation you were in with you or similar situations. That's when you really feel like more than a friend. You feel like it's like a brotherhood. You feel comforted.
Exactly, because they were there and their eyes share the same events with you. So you don't have to explain anything to them. You just have to be there with them and have a good time and blow off steam.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I just out of curiosity, and people might be interested in it. You said you worked Vice. When you work Vice, there's like you're expected to mix it up a little bit, like going to bars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That kind of fascinates me. The idea of like, having a beer on duty is like really appealing to me.
Yeah, we did work bars. We'd go in and have a beer or two and see if they're serving drunks, obvious intoxicants, if there's B-girls. A lot of the Hispanic bars have girls that, they're called B-girls. What they do is they solicit drinks from the patrons, and they'll say, hey, let's dance. And they'll say, buy me a glass of champagne or whatever. And, they get charged double, which is against the law because right after World War II, most of the GIs coming back from the war lost all their money at these bars. So they were all over the United States. So they they made them illegal. So
Wow.
we worked gambling, prostitution, and that was the best time I had on the job was working vice. Get to grow your hair, grow a beard,
Yeah, absolutely.
have
What-
a couple of beers.
What was the rule like if you're going in like you're gonna have a cocktail, to kind of obviously to fit in. You're not gonna go in there and
Yes.
get a soda water or something. Were you allowed like one drink an hour or something? Or
You were allowed 2 drinks in an 8-hour shift.
man, it doesn't seem like enough.
But I know. But what you do is, you have a drink and you order another one and you spill it. You throw it under the bar and then you order another one. And yeah, or so you tell your supervisor anyway.
I'm picking up what you're putting down there. That's great. That's funny.
It was a good time. It was a good time, especially when working street prostitutes and you can get the same one twice. That's always good. That's what all the guys strive for, is try to get the same girl twice, because you're a cop, but if you can talk your way into getting a violation again, you're the man.
Yeah, or they just have like memories like goldfish. They just don't.
Well, I arrested this one girl for prostitution, and she you work them and they say you're a cop, and I'm saying no, I'll pull over and I'll say get out of my car, you're a cop, I can't afford to go to jail, and then she'd say, well, would a cop do this? I'm no cop, and she'd lift up her dress and and show you the hardware,
Right.
and I arrested her because I got the violation, the sex for money, and then a couple weeks later I see her out in the street and I pull over and she goes, hey, Officer Escoto, how you doing? And I said, I'm doing good. The last time I saw you, unfortunately, I arrested you, but, when you showed me what you had, I really liked it.
You're kidding me.
She goes, you did? I go, yeah. And she goes, well, can I get in the car? And I go, yeah. And she goes, are you working? And I said, no, I'm off duty. So she gets in and she goes, well, I'm not going to give it to you. How much are you going to pay? And I said, well, how much are you asking? And, and then I got the violation of sex for money. So I give the signal to my partners. They come up and arrest her. And well, as they're walking up, she looks back and I said, oh no, it's internal affairs. They've been following me. She goes, oh, I'll cover you. So when they come up, she goes, oh, officers, some guy just robbed me and Officer Escoto was just taking me to a safe place. And she was covering for me.
Oh, you must have felt like at least a little bit bad.
I felt really bad. I felt like crap because she, fortunately she was a nice girl, but she was just strung out on crack.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate how drugs will do this.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, talk about just kind of believing what she wanted to believe. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm off duty. Don't worry about it this time.
Yeah. And her mother came to pick her up, and she's a nice woman, and she's saying, I don't know what to do. And, we give her some referrals and stuff, but there's not much you can do, really.
Yeah.
If they don't want the help.
Yeah, you can't force it on them, really.
Yeah. I felt bad, but I felt good. Got her twice.
Right.